Welcome back, everyone, to the Intel Extreme Masters Season 10 in Shenzhen, China. As we overlook the nice skyline, I mean, Shenzhen has a lot of high-rises. There's a lot of skyscrapers. So it's a pretty beautiful city.
I've been doing a little bit of research on all these tall buildings that you're mentioning, Joe, bro.
Yeah? Well, what's the tallest building, Roddy?
Right now, I think it's the K2 or just KK Tower, I think. And it's like 450 meters, but they're working on one that's almost done. And that one is like 600. 600 meters. That's ridiculous.
Pretty tall. 600
That's a lot of meters.
I can't even imagine actually how tall that would be if you look at it. It's just a big number.
You can see it actually because it's pretty much done. They're just working on the top floors.
Well,
it's actually ridiculous.
Maybe we'll have to go out and check it out after day one.
I'm still working on the metric system, so for me, I'm just like 600 meters.
I'm
2,000.
like, okay, so the pool is almost 2 meters deep.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
2,000 feet, I tell you.
Yeah,
2,000 feet?
Wait, is it really?
How much is that, though?
Yeah, right? Like, that's where I am after living in the States and Korea.
I imagine the plastic rulers for elementary school. I'm like, okay, so 2,000, nope.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so that's 200 basketball hoops, huh?
Okay.
1.5 Empire State Buildings.
Well, I'm back on my feet. I know where I am, where Supernova is probably sitting there like, do I need to go back and monitor that game? Probably not. Like, I should focus on the one coming up. And you might have a little bit of indecisiveness coming in there. Hopefully not, though, if you're Supernova. And we will have to find out as we go. And again, it's all best of 3, so all pretty quick. I mean, you don't have much time to sit there and kind of get hung up on the past matches when you're still in the groups.
Yeah, it's certainly you have to look forward. You know, these weekend tournaments are just like a marathon. You have to be able to play all the matchups. You have to be able to vary your strategies a lot, all sorts of different maps. You can't just super prepare like you can for the tournaments in Korea. So definitely we get to see who's better in that type of scenario.
Yeah, a little bit more adaptation.
How many TvTs have you been watching on these new maps? And how much practice do you think that these guys have been having on these maps?
You know, I'm not exactly sure how much practice they've had. Of course, Kespa Cup was just played out. And the one thing I do want to point out in regards to that, TY's teammate Flash is a mech player in TvT a lot of the time.
Very true.
So he has a great practice partner in that, and Flash had to play in Kespa Cup. So my guess is that he has more practice maybe than Supernova does at a high level, and against the type of strategy that I think Supernova is probably going to employ.
Yeah, and you know, looking at Supernova right here, that is something we keep mentioning. I mean, he has that style that he was sticking with throughout the series last time, but he wasn't checking out for the corners that could catch him off in his frame, and eventually it just toppled off the wall, and now here he is having to fight one last time in the decider match of Group A.
Yep, of course, after this we're going to hop into Group B as well. That's going to be awesome, especially for all the Protoss fans out there. But for now it is one more big TvT series between Supernova, our mech player, going up against TY. I'm not sure. If I'm Supernova, I think I would veto a lot of the older maps. I'd get rid of Iron Fortress, I'd get rid of Coda, and I really try to do something crazy on Dash Terminal. TY probably trying to veto the crazier maps out there. We'll probably veto Dash Terminal, we'll probably veto maybe a Bridgehead even, or maybe even Terraform. I think we're going to only see one out of the 3 old maps, and I think that map is going to be Cactus Valley, but that's just my guess.
I think that's a pretty astute observation there, Rotterdam. Like, I am quite sure that Supernova does not want to play an Iron Fortress. That is just, oh man, you do not want to play mech there against any race. That is a tough one. But will he go mech? We don't know 100%.
Yeah, true. I just think it would be better as well. Like, I think if I'm Supernova, I'm confident going into this series, but I also know that realistically TY is probably on a little bit more of a hot streak than I've been on. So I would try to throw him off. You know, don't let him play that map that he's been grinding on for 5, 6, 7 months, where he's been beating players like Sue and Rain. I know it's different matchups, but you know, once you beat players like that on certain maps, it's obvious that you have crazy amount of practice on that match. Throw him off and play him, and let him play on maps that he's a lot less comfortable on.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, Supernova, again, he was so close to moving on, so at this point, you gotta take what risks you can just to make sure that you can secure it. Again, we're not in like the semifinals. We're not in a best of 5. We're not in a place where you can like have a break between the series and be like, all right, let's kind of change the strategy up. You just dive right in. And in fact, I think that's why Lucira moved on. He was like, yeah, after that first game, I felt the Nidus rooms coming in. And the first one, he's like, I kind of felt like playing a 6th pool in the very opening match of the 10th season of Intel Extreme Masters. And then look at where he is now. probably resting at the hotel already, if I'm not mistaken.
Still a small difference, though, between Lucira's mindset. Like, he was playing the winner record match, and you can always take a little bit of an additional risk in that one. This is, you know, this is the deciders match. If you lose here, you're done. You're going home, and that's never nice. So it's harder to make such calls like, do I want to put tournament live on the line right now for a night as well? Fortunately, we won't see any nighters in TvT, but you know, both players are going to play with, I think, a little bit more conservative and a little bit more stress as well than Lucira was able to play so open-minded and relaxed.
You know, I have to step back and say I might disagree with you on that. I think TY might open pretty aggressively on the maps where it kind of suits that, because I think as him looking at this guy that might be a mech player, if he can get any small damage in early on, and I mean, TY is actually very good at pressure builds and early attacks, so I think that would actually behoove him in this match.
Yeah, but like rolling the dice and being aggressive are two crazy or very different things, though, right?
Sure. I mean, there's a big difference between going aggressive and all-in. All-in. I mean, there are some fine lines that determine exactly how much you want to hedge your bets on, you know, which side of the scale. But you know, personally, I'm more of the style that, you know, if it's do or die time, no matter whether it's the winner's bracket or not, I'm always for taking the risk. I just like maybe it's because I'm usually the inferior player, and so that's the only way I can win.
Sure.
But you know, I like to see that also. I mean, it is a little bit more exciting when you know it's, even if it's only the groups, like it's the final match. If you finish here, like you have nothing else to do for the next 2 days until the tournament finishes. Whereas if you win here, you get a full day to rest. Yeah. And then you can come back and look forward to hopefully a full day going through from the bracket stages all to the final. So I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to, you know, toss some crazy ideas out there.
I think we're going to see controlled aggression from TY. Like, I can definitely feel that he definitely wants to dictate the pace of the series, that he wants to be the first guy making moves, that he kind of wants to steer the games in a certain direction. But if you ask me, like, is he going to fly over 3 missile turrets to see if this doom drop may or may not end the game? Like, I don't think he's going to be that crazy.
I don't think he'll do that. I think that we're agreeing to the same thing in different words, basically. But I'll go with the not flying over 3 missile turrets.
I think that's a line where we can all stand together and agree that we're not going to see that much. But yeah, it will be interesting to see again. I mean, it's another TvT, but after this one, they're most likely going to look forward to playing a lot of Protoss if they make it into the bracket stage. So again, this is also maybe just that one where you need to get through it. Just say, all right, one more TvT, and then I can just focus on that other matchup. Look forward to the rest of the weekend.
I have to admit, you know, this is a great group on paper, but the Protoss and me, it wants to see some lasers. I want to see shiny things. I want to see lasers. I want to see stuff being melted by Colossus. I want to see it storm. We had a nice thunderstorm here outside last night. I think that was just like a warm-up for the tournament. It's like classic rain, and here we are in town. Thunderstorm it up.
Yeah, the thunderstorm was pretty loud last night.
It was the loudest thunder I've ever heard.
Yeah, I actually
almost
never
got
wake
out of bed to look out my window, but I was afraid something...
I never wake up to things when I sleep, like unless it's my alarm, and I always switch my alarm every week because I like sleep really deep. But that thunderstorm, it got me up, and I've been up since like 4:30 a.m. trying to make sure it like dies out. But for now, both players are back at their booths. They're ready to go. Again, it is the decider match in Group A. The final one for this group, Supernova versus TY on a TvT. Who will be able to clinch that second quarterfinal spot? Let's find out with our boys, Apollo and Pig.
Thank you very much, Chobra, as we're about to see a former finalist of the Intellect Stream Masters take on a newcomer to the tournament in the last best of 3 of Group A. Pig, how good was my Claris intro?
Oh, that was beautiful. You know, there's worlds colliding, things are exploding, storylines are told. It's all happening here.
To the bottom right-hand side, as the red Terran playing for Root Gaming is, of course, Supernova, that former Intellect Stream Masters finalist of 2012, a long time ago.
Coming back to reclaim some of his former glory. Wants to get back on top.
And then up here to the top left-hand side is the youngster from KT Rolster. It is TY. Not Ty.
Not Ty, no. Once he was known by Baby, though. He was a small boy for a long time, and now he's
a
TY.
Man. He is no longer a baby. He is a man.
A very strong Terran man coming here into this TvT of a very convincing win.
Yeah, and hopefully he's got his confidence back after that victory, because he definitely did have a very disappointing start to Group A with his 10-minute loss to Lucira. But he bounced back with a good victory over Hart and are now in the decider match.
Interestingly, from Supernova, we're going straight for that gas first opening. So you guys maybe aren't too familiar with TvT. Of course, that's going to go right up into his tech very quickly. And something you notice about Coda is the main bases are actually very close to each other.
Yeah.
So a Banshee does not take a long time to get across this map. It's a great map for that Banshee harassment, and that's the most common option off this sort of gas first opening. Supernova, on the other hand, going for the slightly more conservative barracks into gas opening, going to have a few more Marines out, and also going for this SCV scout, wanting to try to figure out what Supernova's up to. This is almost what we could anticipate to some extent, that TY feels like he should go through this group, and he's playing a little bit more conservative and really playing safe here.
Yeah, he will see everything inside this main base, so we can start to build a picture of what's going to happen or what will happen very shortly. Interesting enough, as fast as TY lost versus Lucira in that 10-minute match, as soon as we got out of it, we checked the results of the other game, and that was over too, in a very fast Supernova 2-0 victory against Hart. And with opening up so aggressive now, and knowing that the series lasted 10 minutes previously, we know that Supernova's pretty good at this aggressive stuff, Pig.
Oh, he's got some powerful builds, and in TvT, it can happen so fast. You know, in the last year and a half, 2 years of TvT, it's evolved to the point where players are often very afraid of this matchup. They feel like it's very volatile, and there's only a select few cream of the crop players who really have that understanding to know how to use those edges, how to take those advantages. And I think Supernova is a guy who isn't afraid to take a few risks to get to that point.
And TY has got to be a gambler too here. I'll make sure that he doesn't mess this up. I know a couple of gamblers myself, Pig.
Yeah, there's some guy on the desk over there. Kevin, I think his name was.
Oh, I thought it was William, actually. Never mind. Wrong guy. TY knows what he's up against. He knows he's up against aggression. He knows he has to lock down the defense. You can notice the timing difference between the command center and one that hasn't even begun. Let's see how good his defense will really be.
Yeah, nice scout coming in here. Almost, oh, the Reaper almost goes down, just barely goes out. We've seen a lot of Reapers getting away on low hit points this tournament. Of course, the very fast command center there, it's going to be up for TY, that's nice, but will he be able to then defend the expansion? We do see that fast starport coming down. This is just a poke. This is just Supernova coming in, trying to see if he can get damage done, trying to make sure he can really put the pressure on so that that Banshee gets across and TY won't be ready for it.
Well, the SCV is going to get picked off there, so command center is stopped. Only 2 Marines taking a little bit of damage. 2 more about to pop.
Really cute pressure here so far. Oh, very nice though. 2 Marines popping out. TY joining up those other 2 Marines just at the right moment. Gets that Reaper snipe.
And at the same time, on the other side of the map, there is an SCV scouting on exactly what's happening. So, good defense here from TY. Does lose a couple of these, but he does have a Hellion that's going to pop out, and he will push this back while scouting what his opponent's up to.
That's a really good defense.
Play.
That's very nice defense for TY. And interestingly, going into a very fast medevac, looks like he wants to get some Widowmine Marine counter pressure on. The Banshee is now on the way for Supernova, but it's not crazy fast. And it looks like he's actually, after losing those pressuring units, he's adopting a little bit more of a slightly defensive stance, and he's just going to come in and try to pressure with that Banshee.
Yeah, great scout here from TY. He knows that the engineering bay can be put down and has been put down. He has turrets on the way. Widowmines into position, and as long as he doesn't take damage versus this Banshee, he will go into the mid game in a winning position. And that's like, obviously, as a StarCraft player, where you want to be.
Winning position is definitely where it's at. The Reaper's coming in, still getting some nice vision though. We've got to keep in mind that, you know, the natural mining has not yet started for TY. He's had to build a lot of defense here and really lock down his one base. And this Reaper's actually coming in and just being very annoying for Supernova.
And every SCV kill he gets here. I mean, there is a difference between the 2 SCVs, but we'll count that in a second as this drop is coming in for TY, and that's getting a couple of kills too. 2, 3 more are going to go down here.
Oh, this is such a nice position for TY. He's got the medevac healing, his Marines just aren't dying, and he's killing all of Supernova's damage. He's got a tank and a Banshee out. They should be able to defend this, but he's already limited the mining so much. And remember, TY already had the more economic opening. Oh, a little bit slow on withdrawing this Banshee as well. Looks like TY manages to get that. Oh, the tempo is swinging in his favor so quickly now.
Yeah, I was looking at the SCV difference, and it was in favor of Supernova before these small fights took place, but now it is heavily in favor of TY after getting 8 SCV kills with this medevac drop. His opponent only being able to get a couple with that Banshee, and with the much earlier command center, the orbital command. It's a good position for TY, who does get that lead in the mid game.
dropping, of course, back and forwards. He did delay the command center. So TY, he might not have had the hugest SCV lead, but he has been dropping double mules this entire time. It's a really nice position where you've kind of cemented your two bases, and you've actually not just deflected the Banshee pressure, but you've actually killed the Banshees. And doing that gives you a lot of freedom on the map. It means you can get out there and do all these little pressures without being as paranoid about this.
Supernova going to deflect. This medivac can stop any more SCVs being killed. One of these two players will go forward to represent Korea and Terran in the round of 8. These are the two strongest Terran players remaining in the tournament, of a group of 3 of them, including Hart, who unfortunately was swallowed up by the group.
And of course, no shame going out against this caliber of players. Supernova, he's been off the radar a bit this year, but we can see he's still got a very, very high level of talent, of ability there. And coming out to poke again on the map, interestingly, what we haven't really talked too much about is Supernova usually wants to go mech. And we actually saw it in the vetoes. He did get rid of the maps like Iron Fortress, which were very bad for mech play. The question is he going to do it here? He's still building Marines right now, but I can't quite tell if he's going to be committing in that direction or if he will be trying to shift towards those extra factories.
Well, we do have a Banshee coming in here for TY towards this natural. It does not have Cloak, and there's already a Viking following it with a couple of Marines here in 2. It's going to take down a single SCV. And he even does squeeze out a second one. That is good, considering that was scouted very, very early on. But TY has taken the refineries on that natural ages ago, minutes ago, 5 minutes ago up to this point. And that's just allowing him to build so much more key units and key upgrades. He's got tanks, Vikings at a number now, 4 of them out. With that reactor on the starport, he's got Stim on the way as well. And Supernova still not adding gases, still not really furthering his tech, but moving out with a little bit of a push off the back of having a 3rd command center coming in. Risky play.
Yes, he's really being ambitious here. Coming out on the map, does not want to lose this small number of units, but the ability to apply pressure here is fantastic. And whilst we don't see Stim, we don't see any upgrades on the way for Supernova just yet, he is adding the faster 3rd command center, looking like he really wants to go to that stage of the game before committing to any big sort of economic...
5 Vikings versus 2. The 3rd one wasn't there very early on, and it is a 1-0 lead to the Vikings. And TY.
With all the high ground on this map, of course, the high ground vision is very important. Nice little Marine. No, Billy. Goes down. This air battle, TY just taking great trades. Look at that. Oh, pulls back the weak Viking, gets one more Viking kill, gets out of there, and he's just feeling so confident. He doesn't need to move out. There's no 3rd command center. He's just going to defend anything Supernova can throw at him.
And while defending, look at this, Supernova does not realize this is happening as 5 Marines pop into his mineral line. Nice counter move there by TY while he was pushing this little attack back.
Doing a lot with a little. That is actually just so annoying. It's right when all the production is kind of starting to change up. No units were popping out right then. Yeah. So this has just delayed so much mining time and picking off a few SCVs to boot.
He gets 4 in total. Still got 3 Marines left in that medivac. Excellent play. Supernova not having any of it though. Scans the natural, sees his opponent's army down there, decides to lift up into medivacs to go for a drop into the main base here. Nice play from Supernova, catching TY out of position.
Oh, the Widow Mine shooting down one of the medevacs, putting the other into the deep red. This is a great cemented position he's got. He's going to delay a lot of mining time, and that is fantastic, but Stim has finished for TY. He's got about 10 Marines there with a quick Stim forward, and the Vikings may be doing a land. He can clean this up really quickly.
Yeah, here he is going to go in and clear this up, but he has lost a lot of SCVs while trying to do this. 2 tanks, 2 down, and so will the last remaining Marines. 7 SCVs killed there for Supernova. Looking at the total now, 51 for Supernova, who did have that 3rd command center much earlier on, remember, compared to 44 for TY, who still in this game is without that 3rd command center, and he knows his opponent has one.
Interestingly, the factory transition is starting just now at 14.5 minutes. These guys have been throwing so many punches at each other, so much harassment, that only now is Supernova swapping into mech. He never got the Stim, he never invested into that sort of tech, and he is just starting to get 3 factories up, going to be going for this mech army. But right now, after losing those tanks in his opponent's base, he is down on the tank count, only 3 up against the 5 of TY. When you add the Stim Marine advantage to that, that's actually a really powerful force. Look at Supernova's natural. He is so bare right now. There's just 1 Widow Mine, 2 Marines, 2 siege tanks. This is a really dangerous situation. Supernova needs to defend here. TY has a great opportunity to get damage done.
He moves in with the Vikings. Is he going to pick one of these off? Whereas here comes the drop. 2 medivacs going to load inside the main base, and Supernova spread very, very thin. Only has a single tank, which gets taken down immediately, as well as that second one. And a nice pickup as all the SUVs come off the line and get shot down by these 3 tanks on the low ground.
Oh, such conservative, beautiful, efficient use of his units by TY. Picking up, dropping them back down again. Absolute air control into a very powerful GG.
Nice move there by TY, and he does pick up map number 1 as we see Supernova on screen. Playing a decent game, but getting backhanded there towards the end, Pig.
Things went wrong pretty quickly there, of course. Losing his early Hellions and Reapers, he was really relying on those, getting a little bit more damage done. It looked great at first, delaying the command center, but following that up, he just couldn't quite get it done. And TY weathered the storm, kept poking in behind, never really committing to an overcommitment with his aggression, but just poking here and there. And he just got so many small edges. Yeah. It really felt like he was the superior player in that game.
Well, TY takes a map against the former finalists a long, long time ago. There's only 3 finalists in this tournament. Can you name all 3, including one that's on screen? I know Roddy can. He's winking at me.
Oh,
who are the other 2 finalists before we go to a quick commercial break?
Of course, you know, it's going to be...
What we'll do it like a Pokemon episode. When we come back, we'll find out who the 2 other finalists are. Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters. We are here for the 10th season, celebrating 10 years of esports within the Intel Extreme Masters. And now to the more serious part. Did you at home find out who the other 2 finalists were with Supernova? Roddy knows and Pig knows. Pig, tell them who it is.
Some esports trivia for you. Of course, we've got not only Supernova, but Rain, of course. And who else has possibly made it to multiple finals? CJ Hero.
Hero, of course, it's Hero. I feel like we should have both of their faces pop up on screen as we say it. All right, production, listen to me. What we need to do for the next game is we need silhouettes of 3 players that were finalists, and then we'll fill them in when we come back from the break, okay? All right.
After that, we'll be finding out all about their spirit animals. It's going to be a fantastic, very professional introduction, of course.
Time for map 2. Drama here at the Intel Extreme Masters. Supernova takes on TY in a match of the century. 1 player goes through to the round of 8, Pig. 1 player goes back to Korea. Down here to the bottom right-hand side is the Red Terran player. Playing for Root Gaming, it's Supernova. And if you haven't been listening, he is one of 3 finalists here at the Intel Extreme Masters.
Back in Sao Paulo, he wants to stand on that stage again, man.
And then down here to the bottom left-hand side, it is the KT Roster Terran, 20 years of age. It is TY.
Looking to show his strength outside of Pro League, outside of Korea this year. TY is finally breaking out in the individual leagues this year. Got a top 8 in GSL earlier this year. He's looking to see if he can take that sort of performance to the IEM.
Do you know who else had a top 8 in GSL?
Diapolo?
No.
GSL never did Command and Conquer. Sorry about that.
I didn't even get a top 8 in Go for StarCraft Cups, let alone a GSL, Pig. It is Supernova.
Supernova, of course, has been around since the days of TvT, GOM TvT. Really, really strong player, but he got manhandled a little bit last game. I want to see him step up this game, and I feel like Cactus Valley's a map where he's going to play that slow mech game, really, really try to beef up into that mid-game stage. He was just kind of outmatched by the time it got to the end of that previous game. He just didn't have the units to work with, but I think this time around he's going to go in a bit more prepared.
Well, Cactus Valley plays out obviously different than the previous map. Previous map being a 2-player map, this is now a 4-player map, Pig.
Of course, that makes Reaper openings a little bit less reliable for players in TvT. In a 2-player map, you can open up with a Reaper, skip the SCV Scout, and you've got pretty much guaranteed information. Even though there are points where you can jump into the base on Cactus Valley, it is something which players opt for a little bit less often. We do see TY going for it this game, Supernova not. Now, in these spawns, there are a few interesting tank positions. Sean, who do you think's favored in these spawning locations?
Probably Supernova, right? with Supernova being able to push towards the main base?
The main base is very exposed.
Did I get the answer
Spot
correct?
on, you got it right, man.
Thank
Your
you.
TvT trivia is okay. Of course, on these 4-player maps, you get that sort of rotational lack of symmetry, where if you can get access to the main, you can do a very hard push towards the natural, pick up, jump into that main base. Means TY is going to struggle to cement his defensive position there a little bit more. However, working in his favor is TY will have quite a nice position pushing onto the ledge of Supernova.
Well, nice and early scout here by Supernova, knowing exactly where his opponent is. A slower, delayed follow-up of a Reaper. But currently, TY's Reaper is still at home. So Reapers are going to, as they say, collide.
Oh, it's all about who gets the first shot. Looks like TY's Reaper running away a little bit. Who shot each other first?
The SCV was coming for the tip off the cliff.
Brandishing that drill, man.
He would have pushed that Reaper right off there.
That is a scary, scary sight. I mean, people, you see a probe zap someone, it's like getting hit by like a really weak taser, but a drill, that is going to damage you, man.
And this is just an unfair fight with the Hellion coming in. This is good for Supernova. He's going to take down that SCV. He's going to go up the ramp.
Some nice damage from TY onto the Hellion, though. And luckily, TY finished the command center just before they could kill the SCV. If that command center gets stuck at 99%, it's really, really disruptive to your build. You're counting on that supply that it gives you.
Yep.
But it is not the end of the world for TY. TY took similar damage in the previous game, and he was completely fine with it.
Second Hellion now joins the frontal force as Supernova tries to put on the pressure to equalize this series up. Reaper's going to run around and he is going to get this kill.
Oh, gets trapped there, of course. The Reaper jumping up and shooting him in the face.
Yeah.
Really powerful play there. And interestingly, we have the medevac this game coming up first from Supernova. Going to be going for some more of that sort of Hellion drop aggression, trying to abuse, as you said, this big wide open main base that's so accessible. Maybe then following into the Banshees after that.
Yep.
Interestingly, TY, remember that Reaper stayed home at the start.
Yeah, he's cancelling all his turrets, by the way. And SCV got into the main base of Supernova and he saw that there was no Cloak Banshee on the way. Started building turrets in anticipation for a very similar follow-up to the previous game. That was a very good scout by TY. Saved him a lot of money and a lot of trouble.
It's really very important. The way Terran infrastructure builds is you actually need a lot of minerals early on so that you can get those barracks, those factories started whilst investing in your economy. If you suddenly have to add all these safety precautions like turrets, things can get pretty hard.
All right, well, there's going to be a 4 Hellion drop. Reaper, a bit of a distraction on this natural there. Sacrifice his life. So these 4 Hellions get in and they are running for their lives. There is a lot of flames going to come out and burn and hopefully get some SCVs, but he doesn't get any at that point. Great split there from TY.
Sick reaction from TY, you know, to calmly just spread his workers out while pulling them away, get his units in position. That's really nice. And look at this, TY is even kind of chasing the medevac there, looking to do his own counter pressure. Wow. Supernova, realizing he doesn't have much at home, is panicked. He's putting a bunker down, but it's probably not going to be finished in time. He's going to really struggle to defend this army. Look at this.
Well, here comes the unload for TY. Supernova gets back in time, but can he defend? There seems to be a few more units here for TY, and he goes for the counter, and one of these Hellions goes down, trying to get the perfect line of fire for these Hellions. And TY breaks down the front door.
So many Hellions still alive for TY.
Oh, but
the
a
siege tank's up, though. It looks like it will be able to defend, but look at this.
Yeah.
SCV's exposed in the mineral line. TY seeing the weak exposed part of the army, but Supernova, a very cute pickup to bring those SCVs to safety. Looks like he is going to deflect these Hellions.
Yeah, he does kill 4 SCVs, but that tank is just a perfect defensive tool there to take a lot of damage and deal a lot of damage. But 2 Hellions are broken in to the main SCV line and starting to do a bit of damage. Is he going to get any more SCV kills? It doesn't look like it.
It's just not enough damage out for Supernova. More Hellions coming in. This is just so disruptive, so annoying. TY's dropping a 3rd command center at home. He's just feeling so confident right now.
Wow.
He is all over Supernova.
That really escalated. 7 SCV kills there for TY. Gains himself a very, very nice lead. And as we've already pointed out, he started pretty rough today in the group where he lost within 10 minutes to Lucera, but he's really turned it around with a 2-0 versus Heart and currently leading versus Supernova, looking for a chance to play in the quarterfinals. And that tank, just the perfect defensive unit now, just really locked down this location.
And that's what Supernova needs. He needs to stabilize here. He's really been getting pushed back and forth. Even though TY has been opening up with the slightly more economic openings, he's just been so effective at then shutting down Supernova's first attack and pushing back across and getting so much more damage done in return. It's just this pattern, and it's very, very tilting feeling as a Supernova. If you're sitting in his shoes right now, you feel like I should have a bit of an army advantage at this point in the game, but you're just playing with me. And TY, once again, look at this. He likes to keep this medevac out and keep poking in. And whenever Supernova's distracted, he loves to poke in there and see if he can kill a bunch of SCVs.
Supernova has a quick look inside that main base there and sees a lot of extra barracks and production being added on. But at the same time, he needs to keep his defense tight because there is going to be another drop. A Viking, funny enough.
Oh, wow. Focusing down that siege tank. Very quick repair from Supernova. Just barely saves that. Really cute usage of those units from TY. Not every day you see the double Viking Hellion drop.
Yeah, that's a nice drop there from TY, but good defense. Supernova did lose a bit of mining time with that.
Supernova.
The game continues on. Kind of close in supply here, Pig. Well, I mean, is there a big difference between the two of them? Would you call there's a leader or a loser at this point?
I think there's a clear advantage for TY here. Even though you can't see it reflected in the supply, we see factories are only just starting to go down and start to finish up for Supernova. He's only just getting that production down. However, coming in with a nice group of Hellions, if he can get some damage done, this could equalize it.
Oh, with the Banshee as well. 7 SCVs, 8 SCVs. I mean, we can count all day. There's no need for me to be Count Dracula for you.
The SCVs are coming back too early. Oh, clumping up in front of the Hellions. They just barely survive, but still more and more SCVs going down. Another clump up right in front of the Hellions. Oh, TY taking so much damage here.
And just like that, all of a sudden, 14 SCVs were killed. Even though they're very similar in SCV count, a massive victory there for Supernova.
That really does put him back in this game, because like I was saying, all these barracks are down for TY already. He's already got that infrastructure up, which is really the hard point of TvT. The reason it's so volatile is it's so hard to get that production up whilst staying safe from this sort of aggression. We see maybe TY overextended into that economy, that production a little bit too early, because now Supernova's taking that supply lead. He's getting to that big, like, let's pump out multiple tanks, multiple Vikings, lots of Hellions. He's getting to that position where he's comfortable as a player. We've seen Supernova's much more commanding at this stage of the game.
Well, TY doesn't know that medevac's on its way, but he scans his opponent's defensive lines on the natural. He runs into the medevac with a Viking on patrol, but it's going to boost past it, and it will unload these 4 Hellions, which are going to aim towards this SCV line. And the entire army of TY was out in the middle of the map towards his third base, and he has no defense currently. Units stimming back to help defend.
A little bit of miscontrol from Supernova here, wasting a lot of volleys there, taking a long time to actually focus fire. Only killing 3 SCVs when there was only 2 Marines to defend. A little bit of miscontrol there.
But at the same time, Supernova buying himself a lot of time to be able to build up that army. If you look at it now, he's got quite a few tanks spread across in multiple areas, and he continues now to ramp up his unit count with the production fully kicking in for Supernova as he fights back against TY here. And with Supernova, if you look at it on paper, with a victory against TY here, going to the round of 8 would be the first time he's done that in about 2 years, which is a massive, massive result. We talked about players like Lucera coming back, but likewise, Supernova has a clear opportunity to get something he hasn't had for a long time.
Yeah, you know, Lucera's been powering up for the whole year. Supernova's been mostly absent, only qualifying for Challenger once this entire year. This is his moment. He really does not want to go out here. He's down 1 game, and when you're up against the wall like this, you do not want to go out to 0-2.
All right, Supernova is in the defensive position on his third. TY looking for an opportunity. I think you might even see a weak spot on the far right-hand side of Supernova's base. There's a single turret, and if he was to boost inside the main base, I don't know how much TY's actually seen, but this is a very weak area, I'd say.
It looks like he's actually looking to edge into the front position. Now, this is a very choked up area, but it does look like air control heavily goes towards Supernova. Of course, if you can ever control this sort of tight zone just down here at the south of our screen, then suddenly you can split their bases apart, and it's very, very difficult for them to defend. But it looks like, wow, even going for a soft or hard contain, we should call this, right?
Yeah,
Missile turrets outside his base.
I guess he's got a couple of options here. I mean, he could try to dive inside the main base. It's very risky, of course, if he was to lose it all, to have to fight a counterattack with minimal units. He's going to maybe try and keep his opponent on 3 bases while rapidly expanding and increasing his production. He's having a look on this right-hand side. He is within sensor tower range, so Supernova does know where he is. He's adding on to the weak point of this right-hand side of his main base, more turrets and Vikings.
finishing up
this area.
That sensor tower in the barest moment before those Marines moved around there. Really, really nice timing here from Supernova, and he's looking to just lock everything down. Interestingly, there was a little bit of a gap from TY between his 1-1 and his armory has only just finished, so he's actually falling behind in those upgrades, even though he had a big lead much earlier on.
I mean, as difficult as it is for TY to attack in a choke point, it's going to be as difficult for Supernova to attack out into a choke point, right? So Supernova's going to be in a bit of a... How does he move out? How does he say, okay, my time is now, and then push out through a little area with this army?
Lose all of his Hellbats there. Only kills a couple of siege tanks. I'm not sure if that was worthwhile. That was a lot of Hellbats to throw away, a lot of damage taken on his medevacs.
I mean, he's earned a couple of inches that help maybe give him the 4th base, but at the same time, he has to take this location, no matter what.
Really nice Banshee usage, trying to use that air superiority. It looks like Supernova is just patiently pushing forwards, but we cannot stress how much pressure you're under here as the mech player. As the defensive Supernova player, like, you've got no room for error.
I mean, tanks on the high ground here, they're going to damage any units that get close to protecting this 4th. Lifts up, again, a bunch of units, and I think that's a lot of tanks in there. I'm pretty sure it is a lot of tanks. Scans coming down from both sides, so they both see exactly what's going on here. Supernova, it's as clear as daylight. He has to take this base.
Oh, that scan going down. Did Supernova see those medevacs fly out of there? I'm not quite sure.
There's so many turrets protecting TY's main base. Even if he was to attempt this, he's looking at losing over 50% of this army in doing so. Here we go. Here's the boost. Supernova's going to go for the main base. There's about 3 or 4 turrets. More turrets coming in.
His boost is going to be on cooldown when he runs into these turrets. He just can't get through there without his boost. This Thor taking pot shots, taking down some Vikings. Supernova is looking like he's just getting locked down.
He just can't do anything here. He's just stuck. He's once again going to try and move forward, and he's going to walk into the tank line. Can he break through? Can he break through this?
Oh, looks like he can push him back a little bit there. Most of TY's forces too far away to be able to jump on this immediately.
What is he doing? He's got a tank in pretty good position back here. Supernova is able to push TY back from this contain, allowing his 4th base to be placed down. Finally, Supernova breaks out eventually, but that was his entire army that moved south. He's very weak now for a movement into his 3rd, which TY is going to take.
TY's rotating through. This is that choke point we were talking about. If he can control this area, everything becomes horrible for Supernova. Only 1 siege tank at the 3rd. He's pulling SCVs.
Everything's going to get absolutely murdered here for Supernova. He pushes through and he realizes the position that he's found himself in, and as good as it was for him to break out, he's now in a bit of a spot. How does he get units and SCVs down to this position? How does he break from it? He decides to drop Hellbats onto it.
Oh, you know, gets a tank kill there for about 4 to 6 Hellbats. Is okay, but it's nothing too amazing. Luckily, though, he does push back the tank position of TY temporarily. TY still looking for pickups here on the left-hand side. Supernova looking so resilient here and actually taking a really big supply lead.
And he's got the supply lead, and most importantly, he's finally got this 4th base down. He's broken free. He's been able to defend his 3rd base with tanks on position, even though he lost the choke. And Supernova, what great composure from the 25-year-old here. Absolutely fantastic to be able to stay and not make mistakes. And when his tournament's on the line, brilliant play from Supernova.
Yeah, the amount of pressure you're under as a player in that position to not make the mistake of darting into the turrets, to just be patient, say, I can do this. If I don't throw my units away, I can find the engagement.
Yep.
And he actually has managed to put himself in a superior position here. One of the big things going for him is the upgrades. We only have +2 mech weapons for TY and 1-1 for his bio, as he's mostly swapped out of those bio units. Meanwhile, on the other side, we're working towards those 3-3 upgrades, the +3 armor about to start for Supernova.
Supernova's going to push through the center here. He senses weakness. He knows that TY is down in numbers, and he's going to break this small contain, moves 2 tanks forward with a lot of Hellbats, destroys about 4 or 5 tanks at the front there.
Really, really nice defensive position. I'm very impressed by how TY is maintaining the sort of positional advantage despite being at the army deficit now. He's trying to keep this because he knows it'll open up more opportunities, and it's going to slow down the inevitable mech push of Supernova. However, what do we see from TY? He's not going for the air advantage. He's given up completely on the air battle. And in mech versus mech, I feel like that's really important.
Absolutely, and you know, with 3 throw upgrades coming in for Supernova and 2 extra starports, he's going to be dedicating to that very, very shortly. Oh, a contain that doesn't really contain too much, I said. The only thing it does stop, as you said, is a push that comes from Supernova. But Supernova is quite happy at this moment. He's got a lot of money. a lot of money incoming, should I say, compared to where he was. He has the options to start to spread himself up this right-hand side of Cactus Valley and start to obtain more and more expansions.
But every second that ticks by, TY is falling further and further behind. He needs to get some damage done now. Coming around here trying to flank a little bit. But keep in mind, he's not getting better upgrades. He's not going for air. His army is getting worse the longer this game goes, while Supernova's is getting better. And that puts a lot of pressure on him to not just find an even trade, but to find a really good fight.
TY scanning absolutely everywhere here. I suppose he's looking for some kind of air transition, and he does spot the additional starports on the natural, so that must be at the back of his mind. He's added on 3 starports of his own, but Supernova's going to push through the center of the map here. Another spread at a different location for TY, and that is a very efficient position to be in. Supernova inches forward once again while dropping Hellbats on the other side of the map at the same time, killing off 7 SCVs there. And he's going to get himself into this SCV line as well. Excellent play from Supernova. Very, very impressive play.
Such sick play from Supernova. Oh, TY getting a bit desperate here. Diving with a drop. Going to pick up a few siege tank kills. That's actually really nice so far. But a very fast reaction with the Hellbats dropping on top of it. Was it enough, though? Looks like even using a few of those unupgraded Marines. And it looks like Supernova will clean this up without too many losses.
And that SCV line on the left-hand side was not looked after. 21 SCVs have gone down, and Supernova is still chasing. And he is going to get a couple more for his trouble here by the looks of it. Well, maybe not. Maybe not, but
this has been such
SCVs.
A sick game. It's so cool to see this sort of... Oh, no! TY once again moving his workers back in while the danger was still there. This is a really big amount of damage, actually. However, he already had so many SCVs, he's still got 65 after losing 23 workers.
I feel like Supernova, for the majority of this game, has been in like a straitjacket, and all of a sudden he's just ripped it out because he's so buff, because he plays StarCraft every day.
Oh, you can see TY trying to wrap his arms around the tree trunk that is Supernova, but Supernova's slowly stretching it out, and it looks like TY's arms are about to break here. He cannot hold this contained for any longer.
I mean, look at how many tanks this guy has now at the south position, and all of a sudden Supernova, who's broken out of this 20-minute contain, is now in a position to put TY under a lot of pressure himself. Supernova with an excellent performance here in game number 2, really playing when it matters the most. And in a moment, we are going to see him look for a position on TY where he can break his opponent. Maybe this isn't the best one because of the amount of siege tanks that TY has, but there's definitely other angles to take.
Oh, looking like he's going to split half the army around the right-hand side. Supernova is going to try and break the other end, but TY anticipates the movement, spots it. He starts to move units in position. Behind all this, TY has finally realized, I cannot break him on this mid-tier army composition. I'm adding Vikings, I'm adding Ravens. Now he's actually the one who feels confident to try and buy time, while Supernova staying a little bit more on the lower tech air units, the Banshees, the Vikings, and actually looking like he wants to go towards battle cruisers.
Yeah, with the fusion core now coming in, it's going to be an air army that he will make. I feel like at this moment, it's TY with putting his army on multiple scales, and it's up to Supernova to find where the weakest point is for him to really strike. But at the same time, these type of movements, these counterattacks, always making Supernova second-guess himself where he should be moving, where he shouldn't be.
The mobility, the utility that this fast-moving bio actually gives TY is really, really cool. However, it's not great in a front-on fight, so he's actually quite happy to steadily bleed these units out while pulling Supernova away from the front. Yeah. If he can do that slowly, steadily, it buys him time to increment out these Ravens very slowly, just getting a few more, and then he will be able to find himself with that air advantage potentially.
And we've kind of gone to the point of the game now, Pig, where as much as the 4th base was super important earlier on, it's now become the 5th base, which is starting to become important and something for Supernova to think about. But the longer the game goes, as powerful as mech becomes, the more spread out you're naturally going to be across the minimap, which again plays into the strength of the type of army TY is playing around with.
TY looking like he wants to continue building these buildings out in the middle of the map. Just a great way of slowly choking out Supernova through these positional advantages. And this bio, once again, limiting that 5th base on the right-hand side. It's exactly as you said, Polo. How do you take a 5th base? You know, how can you afford to spread units all the way up there against this fast-moving bio?
And especially with TY, who's really keeping up to beat with his income. He has multiple command centers across the map now, taking multiple expansions. This force is cleaned up with the Vikings and Banshees, but here you can see this feels like an Age of Empires game. He's got a bunch of farms up here, just kind of mining away, getting all this money with his orbital commands.
It's going to be a long one for now. I think both players don't want to fight. when you're starting to build up mech, you need a little bit of time. You want to get to that sort of ideal count of units where you've got enough point defense drones, Seeker missiles, Vikings, and so on. Of course, TY, though, doesn't look like he's interested in the battlecruisers just yet, whereas we've already seen the Yamato cannon upgrade start. We've already seen the battlecruiser energy upgrade finish, I believe.
Right.
So looking like BCs are going to enter the fray a little bit sooner, but they are a very, very sensitive unit. You have to use them in just the right way, or they kind of end up like this big, meaty waste of space.
Well, a bit of a little fight here from TY. A couple of Seeker missiles going to hit these tanks. Let's destroy one of them, damaging the other two, as well as Supernova dropping Hellbats into his opponent's mineral line, but there are tanks here. Did kill 8 SCVs, which is successful, and even another Hellbat comes in. But that one doesn't do anything, unfortunately, for him.
It's very important to continue doing these Hellbat drops for Supernova. He needs to make it at least difficult for TY to take these extra expansions. You can't necessarily shut them down with a big force of units, but if you can keep picking away at them, harassing them, not only does it pull TY's multitasking away, but it actually allows you to get some cost-efficient trades in without committing to a big direct front-on fight.
Well, looks like Supernova's slowly crawling up this right-hand side flank to start to secure this 5th base of his, where he's going to need the extra mineral income and gas income as well, naturally.
Man, this is starting to look a little bit like World War I. Like these battle lines just going on forever, and no one wants to go over the top and charge into the other guy's machine guns and siege tanks. Man, this is looking really, really crazy. Whoever commits first is going to really need to find a good angle.
I mean, you could have said StarCraft 1 at least instead of World War I, Pig. Jeez.
I don't know, man. Trench warfare, you know, war of attrition. That's what we're looking at here, man. Can I say I'm a little bit oblivious to the old StarCraft 1 history.
It's okay. You used to have a lot of tanks land like this.
Except they cost less supply, right?
Yeah. TY moving, marching south here into a bunch of siege tanks here, and he kind of regrets that move. He backs out of it.
Taking a lot of damage there, actually. The siege tank's still shelling away. Takes out the Thor. Wow, getting heaps of damage done there for Supernova. It's so interesting to see because they're both using such slow-moving compositions, often in Marine Tank versus Marine Tank. Ooh, very nice pickup. As I was saying, often in Marine Tank, like when one player pushes into one side, the other guy can rotate and crush through whatever he's left on the other side.
Yeah, well, there's really not much left here, to be honest.
Yeah, and Supernova's he's still got his spread up in the middle of the map, but it looks like TY's just going to edge through.
Yeah, this is a really nice move by TY. Also, an excellent way to play for Supernova. Realizing the Hellbats weren't doing the job anymore, he's decided to break off some of his Banshees towards the north, and there's just not any defense up there, so TY's losing a lot, but likewise Supernova is under threat to the south position, but still is holding on tight.
Oh, these planetaries are dying so fast. Vikings coming in with a nice scan. Supernova, he's on the ball. He's watching, pulls them out of the scan, and he's going to waste a lot of TY scans if he wants to kill all those Banshees.
Yeah, he's going to continue to chase. Second Banshee goes down, third and fourth will stay alive for now, but Supernova did lose one of his Vespian geysers here, but he's been able to maintain the base. He didn't lose it as a whole.
Thors coming in from both sides here, of course. They offer that bonus damage to light, which really shreds the Ravens, as well as offering the ranged advantage. You know, even if you drop down in that Viking count, you can really punish them for coming forward and throwing those Seeker missiles down.
Well, Banshee's still flying around. I think they're going to die up here now. I've run out of energy, no more Cloak, and Vikings still following them. But where do you go next? We're in a little bit of a stalemate position, very similar, if not identical in supply and also money in the bank. Armies are similar, not quite exact. Upgrades a little bit better here for Supernova, who does have +3 plating. But is it just now about finding a weak spot and attacking in? Is it about cutting off your opponent's economy? I mean, where do you play this game?
It looks like TY really wants to be the one forcing things to happen a little bit more because he's got 27 Vikings in the air. He has a huge air advantage as well as being up by 2 Ravens. This is part of why Supernova is getting those Thors now, because without them he just cannot fight this army, and his air army is getting committed here, but he cannot take this fight. Seeker missiles going down for both sides. Are they going to hit?
You get a couple of hits down, not being able to take out the Ravens. 2 more Seeker missiles, 3 more going down on this tank line. And this is, I think, come quite clear now. Supernova must not lose this north position. If he loses that choke point, he loses access to all his money. You can start to look at the top right and see the gas difference between the both of them.
Oh, the Thors are just getting stuck. They were too late getting there initially, which is why TY could take that amazing fight, knocking down so many of Supernova's air units. And now things are getting really nasty. Oh, so many Ravens going down.
And this air armada for TY absolutely dominating this part of the game.
Oh, 27 Vikings still in the air against just 7 Vikings for Supernova. Supernova's almost given up. He's just adding more Thors now. And look at this, the Ravens just killing tank after tank, and all it costs is energy.
I mean, can Thors work against this? This almost feels, with the money that Supernova has left, his last-ditch effort to stay alive in this tournament. Remember, this is his tournament match right now on Cactus Valley against TY, who, with both of them being in this side of match, would be looking forward to moving forward to the
there's just
round
no
of 8.
tanks in position. They've all been going down too quickly to these Seeker missiles, and it looks like this section is going to get cut off. TY has isolated the top right corner of the map, and this is huge. Supernova needs to do something about this, and he needs to do it right now.
Yeah,
otherwise, he's going to fall too far behind in economy.
There's just no expansions for him to take anymore. He's starting to mine up all the original bases he took. He must mine from the top right. And at the moment, TY has completely cut him off while taking every single expansion for his own to the top left.
Even a little bit of refinery harassment in the top right by TY, actually denying the refinery by putting down his own. Really cute moves from him. Of course, TY now looks like he's in a very, very strong spot. I really can't see what Supernova does to answer this.
Well, he's moving forward to the middle of the map here. He's down in supply. There's tanks here that are doing a lot of damage to these Thors, but the Thors are getting some shots onto these Vikings and Ravens.
Looks like he is going to be able to take the Watchtower, and that does kind of cut TY's position in half. So looking like a really good push so far from Supernova. If he can establish this, it really alleviates a lot of the pressure. Even getting a few Ravens in there. All these Thor shots, taking out so many Ravens. Really nice pickup there to start equalizing that Raven count.
4 tanks here hold part of the Zelnoga Tower. Cannot be controlled by either side at this moment, with tanks on both sides. But as you said, the top right has been finally broken free for Supernova. There's a couple of remaining units, but he is able to mine from these expansions once again.
2 tanks from TY being very annoying up here, trying to take down this base. TY freely mining on the other side of the map, while Supernova is struggling to get enough gas, having to land his Vikings here, and those tanks even killing one of those before they do go down. This is just very, very nice for TY, and now at this point, he starts the fusion core. He's going to start heading towards those battle cruisers.
These Ravens gotta fly. Gotta fly. Point defense drone does come down to defend them, but the Viking count still heavily in favor of TY. As you can see, he has almost double his opponents, and as you've said, the battle cruisers are now coming into play.
3 at a time, as well as adding those armor upgrades. Finally, of course, TY's been playing this without the armor upgrades for a very long time, slowly getting those in. The planetary up here finally being re-established. It looks like Supernova is going to get back to that healthy level of mining, but he has a bit of catching up to do. He did get that section of the map isolated. He's got to get back up in there.
I mean, he needs to build up this air army ready to fight against the battle cruisers, Ravens and Vikings, but he is moving through the middle of the map, and this is a nice little move from him, getting quite a few of these Seeker missiles down on these tanks, but at the end of the day, these tanks will be traded out for a better air army once again for TY.
Can't use up too much of that energy there. You know, he needs to save it on the Ravens or he will lose the inevitable air battle. But I think that's Supernova's plan to some extent. If he can zone out the air units and keep trading with his Ravens and not give the opportunity for TY to do the same, then he will be able to get in a good position. Of course, TY, though, just bullying his way in and picking off his own siege tanks.
For as long as Supernova's actually secured the top right again, it's taken him a long time to get the ball rolling with getting that money and still very much gas-starved. He's spending a lot at the moment, but he needs as much as he can get, because he doesn't want to take a direct fight too soon.
Some nice hits, taking out 3 siege tanks at the front. Supernova does look like he is picking off a lot more tanks than TY is able to. TY must be getting a little bit frustrated at this. He is starting to even replace some of those siege tanks rather than going for pure air. He knows he needs something on the ground to back this up.
Here come the battle cruisers. Remember, these units only have +2. There is a +3 advantage for Supernova, but the numbers is the big game now. Will Supernova have enough to compete against this?
Oh, look at this. Even a big Hellion run by. He's about to sneak through the top of the map.
Oh, nice.
Gonna see if he can maybe, really diminish TY's economy at a stage of the game where you don't have that many SCVs to spare. Only at about 48 on the map so far.
Well, he's going to go hunting, and this is going to bring TY back. Not really many SCVs around, to be honest. They're all just in the Vesperian Geysers. I suppose he's got so many ultimate commands, he's not really mining minerals with SCVs.
Oh, meanwhile, though, TY is pushing up, saying, oh, you're really annoying me back home, but I'm going to try and choke off these bases again. But losing a lot of his siege tanks, he is struggling, but he's just got so many more Vikings in the back. Oh, it's all about Supernova getting his Thors in position. But with battle cruisers joining the fray, now they can Yamato cannon those Thors, take them out, and suddenly Supernova's looking to be in a very hard position.
Yeah, all the units from TY looking to cut this position up once again, and Supernova must, and I feel like we've said this a couple of times, defend this location. He's moving forward with a couple of Thor shots on this, but one of the planetary fortresses is under attack.
Ooh, that is a lot of Thors. He might be able to just ram his way through here, but then he's going to take a lot of damage from these siege tanks. Oh, Yamato cannons! Doesn't actually kill any of the Thors. You know, Supernova may be able to repair those, but he's so gas-starved.
Yeah.
And then, he can't afford to lose this base right now.
No, especially with TY still mining a lot of money on the other side of the map. And he is going to lose his base. A big win there for TY as he gets one step closer towards the quarterfinals here at the 10th Intel Extreme Masters. So if you just join us, we are in Shenzhen, China, where Pig and Roddy have been taking pictures with anime characters all day long. But right now, TY is so very close towards the quarterfinals. Supernova must make a move. He's got to make it, Pig.
He can't lose one more refinery, and those siege tanks take down one of the refineries on that 6th base up here in the top right-hand corner. You know, Supernova, it's so hard for him to attack in this position as more and more tanks join the party, more and more battle cruisers.
He's feeling the stress, he's feeling the pressure, he's going to make his move, and this is going to be a tournament-deciding move. He puts off a lot of Seeker missiles, but there's from both directions coming in. Boom, bada, bing, bing, boom. Pig.
Oh, so many battle cruisers still surviving on Red Life. All the Vikings and Ravens are starting to go down for Supernova. TY's air superiority here is looking good.
Yeah,
his tanks even pushing through on the ground. Only one Thor left on the ground. The Vikings just ravaging the air army of Supernova.
And the battle of the century on Cactus Valley takes place, and it looks like TY is going to come out on top with Vikings and battle cruisers still left in the sky. There is not much left for Supernova, who is struggling and starving with his income, is now forced back. And that was the fight that was meant to gain position on this high ground, and TY stands strong.
Trying to build a pure Viking Remax, but it's just happening so slowly, and he cannot catch up in this count. He's down about 3 Vikings right now, lost almost all of his Ravens, and there's still battle cruisers up here. Those Yamato cannons, they're just going to gain so much value over time.
And even harassment now from TY, cutting up this position. He's got that top right in a position, I imagine it's auto turrets in that SUV line. Vikings, whatever it is, he's not mining from it, and that's the most important part.
You know, it's a really tricky position when you got like this sort of harassment going on, this choking position. It's been a wrestling match this game. TY has tried to put him in chokehold after chokehold, and Supernova's been greasing up in the oil tub, and he's been sliding out, but I don't know if he can do it anymore.
TY stands on the top of the mountain with his turrets and Vikings saying, "Thou shalt not pass," as Supernova is in so much trouble. He needs to gather his forces for one final strike. You can see 40 supply difference, and this looks like it's going to be it. Can Supernova break out? Because I don't think he's going to, and TY should be marching towards the quarterfinals.
The Yamato cannons ravaging some of those Vikings. They're actually a pretty decent Viking count remaining for Supernova. He will be able to take out these battle cruisers, but with nothing left on the ground to defend these siege tanks.
Yeah, nothing left to defend this location, and he obviously cannot lose this one. Battle cruisers come in once again. Great Vikings doing a lot of damage to these battle cruisers, but tanks are doing a lot to these SCVs and planetary. Actually, no, the SCVs aren't going down too fast.
You know, most of those tanks were focusing the planetary, so the Thor actually killed a few more units than it should have. The desperation Viking land coming in. Supernova does drop out to TY.
TY takes him out 2-0, moves forward to the quarterfinals, joining Lucira as our 2 players to advance from Group A. The 2 players that go forward to challenge the 4 Protoss players that everybody's scared about. Even I'm scared of them. Hero Classic parting in rain.
It is a scary, scary bunch of Protoss players. They're lining up the row you're going to run through. They're all going to whack you with sticks as you run past, trip you over, stab you with their pylons. It's going to be a painful path for whoever wants to make it to the top.
Unfortunately, we lose one of our former finalists from the Intel Extreme Masters here in Shenzhen, China. But he lives to fight another day, but this tournament was not his time. Let's head over to the desk with Chobra and Artosis and Rotterdam, who are all joined by T to the Y.
Thank you very much, Sean. Yes, indeed, we are here with TY. Make sure that he finds a seat right there. So TY moving on to, of course, the quarterfinals, securing your spot in the bracket stage. TY 선수 일단 축하드리고요. 8강 진출하셨는데 오늘 처음에 오프닝 매치에서는 조금 어려운 모습을 보여주셨어요. 근데 그 다음에 2대0으로 다시 이기고 이제 마지막 게임에서 또 2대0으로 이겨서 8강 올라가셨는데 지금 기분이 어떠세요?
사실 조 1위를 목표로 했는데 이렇게 첫판 지고 그러니까 처음에 황강호 선수한테 지고 나서 오늘 왠지 느낌이 떨어질 것 같아가지고 굉장히 많이 불안했는데 패자전 이기고 좀 다시 좀 정신적으로 멘탈을 좀 찾고 이렇게 최종전에 임해서 이길 수 있었던 것 같아요.
So, I actually felt a little bit bad because my goal was to move up in first place from Group A. I lost to Sierra 2-0, and then I actually thought, oh shoot, am I just going to get dropped down from Group? Am I going to get eliminated? It just doesn't feel right. But then I beat Hard 2-0. I think that gave me enough confidence to come back into it, and now I won the decider match, so now I'm going over to the quarterfinals, so can't complain. I feel it's pretty decent. But, I mean, what do you think about that match? Of course, as Pig was saying, it looked like a certain war. I mean, I agree, it looked more like StarCraft 1. That's what I was liking about it, but...
No, I mean, I felt the first game kind of spoke for itself. I really loved the way that TY cleaned it up. We don't have to ask him about it, but it was just so... he did everything right. Just pulled a few SCVs when there were like a bunch of tanks outside of his main base on Coda. Didn't pull too many, didn't pull a little, just the right amount. Landed the Vikings on the low ground. When you look at that, it's beautiful, it's Terran art, if you so to speak. I felt game number 2 was really, we don't have to ask him about it, it's kind of a summary. Game number 2 was a really bizarre game though. It was extremely long. Maybe we could ask him, was it his plan all along to transition into mech? Because he stopped upgrading Bioforces at 2-1?
그러면 두 번째 경기, 이번 시리즈에서 두 번째 경기에서는 그 바이오 갖고서 업그레이드를 굉장히 오랫동안 안 하시고 나중에 가서 이제 결국에 맥으로 바꾸셨는데 항상 그런 계획을 갖고 게임을 시작했나요? 아니면 중간에 가서 어떻게 하다 보니까 그냥 그렇게까지 길게 가게 된 건가요?
사실 그 바이오닉을 좀 보여주면서 압박을 많이 주고 메카닉을 좀 빠르게 좀 전환하려고 그랬어요. 그 궤도사령부도 많이 지으면서. 근데 제가 터렛을 너무 많이 지은 바람에 이렇게 되게 어정쩡한 상황이 된 거예요. 되게 애매한 상황이 돼가지고 이게 메카닉도 아니고 바이오닉도 아니고 이래서 이 경기 되게 힘들겠다 싶었는데 다행히 이렇게 영진이 형이 좀 시간 주면서 밤까마귀를 모은 순간 그때부터 좀 이제 이길 수 있겠구나 생각이 들었어요.
Yeah, so actually my original plan was just to pressure a little bit early on with the bio and then switch quickly to mech. But then I realized I built too many turrets. That held me back. I was caught in this limbo where I was like, I'm not bio, I'm not mech. I just have a bunch of turrets. So I thought, this is going to be a little bit tough. But Supernova actually gave me enough time to get back into it with the Raven advantage. And with that, I was able to just say, all right, now I can fight you again. Fair game. I'm back in the battle.
Excellent. Well, definitely a great TvT, no doubt.
Yeah.
Many people, I think, will call that the battle of the century on Cactus Valley for years to come. But my question has to do with the great Protosses in this event, TY. There are 4 of the world's very best Protosses here, but lately you've been doing very well against Protosses, taking out Stats, Rain, and Trap. How far do you think you can go against these heavy-hitting Protoss players that we have left in the tournament?
그럼 이번 대회에서는 이제 많은 분들이 좀 중요하게 보고 있는 부분이 정말 세계에서 최강으로 불리는 선수들 중에 프로토스 선수들이 많이 모여 있잖아요. 근데 최근에 TY 선수는 직접은 뭐 한국에서도 이제 프로토스 상대로 굉장히 좋은 성적을 보여주고 계신데 그럼 이번 대회에서는 어디까지 갈 수 있는 거? 어디가 목표인가요? 우승할 수 있으실 것 같으세요?
사실 웬만하면은 8강에서 그 가장 잘하는 프로토스 중 한 명을 만날 것 같은데 8강만 넘어가면은 우승까지도 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 왜냐면은 이게 다 최고의 선수들이니까 한 번 이기면은 그 이후에도 이렇게 좀 자신감을 많이 받아서 이길 수 있지 않을까 생각해요.
Yeah, so I think my chances of meeting one of those top 4 in the round of 8 is very high. I think probably we'll be spread across and we'll have to battle through those round of 8s. But so if I win in the quarterfinals against one of these guys, then I think, I could actually just win the whole thing here. Because once you battle one of them, sure, they're all great. But they're all great, they're all Protoss. Once you beat one of them, you can kind of make it habit, go off of that momentum, go all the way to the final and win that trophy. So then, hey, he could be the victor of Shenzhen, secure that spot in Katowice.
Maybe a small question about balance, because in the European scene, like a lot of the Terran players complain about Protoss, and a lot of the Protoss players, they complain about Terran. It's just like a never-ending circle. I kind of want to hear TI's thoughts. Is he okay with Protoss, or does he think they're strong?
그럼 지금 유럽에서는 많은 선수들이 이제 테란 선수들은 프로토스가 OP다 그렇게 생각을 하고 프로토스 선수들은 테란이 OP다 그렇게 계속 이렇게 싸우고 있는데 뭐 본인 직접 어떻게 생각하세요? 프로토스 상대로 프로토스가 좀 짜증 난다든지 좀 OP라고 생각을 하세요? 아니면 그래도 할만하다고 생각하시나요?
저는 근데 이 게임 처음 시작할 때부터 프로토스가 항상 사기라고 생각했고요. 지금도 테란전도 그렇고 저그전도 그렇고 저는 동일한 실력이면 프로토스가 이긴다고 생각을 하고 있어요.
He says, actually, ever since I started playing this game, I thought Protoss was a little bit cheap and a little bit too strong. I think if you play any matchup as Protoss, if you're equally skilled, you will win if you select Protoss. Wow. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. So I think Protoss is a little bit strong. Right? Don't worry, he'll get off the desk soon because we're going to go to a break. No worries about that. But congratulations TY again. 8강 축하드립니다. 그 인터뷰 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
So thank you very much for spending time here at the desk for the interview. Of course, we will take a quick break, but when we return, ladies and gentlemen, we're going into the favorite group of Rotterdam and Artosis, Group B with all those Protoss, and of course, Snoot. So I know a lot of you EU guys out there, you're waiting. It's finally time. After this break, we'll be back with Snoot and the 3 Protosses.